Hi, everybody. Hi, every spirit.
Welcome very much to Spirit
To all. Here, Esoteric Cloud Surfer, and
Daria.
ready to bring more awareness about the spirit to all. Thank you for being here. Your support is greatly appreciated.
I wish you the best thoughts,
Ideas
feelings.
and emotions. If you enjoy the content, as always, leave a like and subscribe. And let's start our spiritual podcast. Today, we're going to talk about full moon in Aquarius, about government dependence, about spirit drinks as well. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get started.
Yeah.
So the full moon in Aquarius was very recently. At the date of recording, it was 1 day ago, but we're still experiencing the fulfillment state of our emotions and feelings. So I want to ask Daria if she has any special experience about the full moon in Aquarius to share with us.
Okay, so during this full moon, I think it is important to remember to stay focused emotionally on unique ideas about ourselves, ideas about the world, and feel comfortable and fulfilled, as full moon is the full fulfillment of the cycle that we have experienced, especially during this 15 days since the new moon in Leo. And it is important to remember to stay fixed and focused on our ideas and be comfortable in being unique, and whatever we are manifesting, whatever we have manifested and are experiencing right now, especially if you are watching this right at this time, 20th of August, or later a little bit, or even just on the for you to be aware on a full moon, you are experiencing what you have manifested, what you have planted. And because right now we are experiencing the full moon in Aquarius, we are going to be more in a space of thinking about specific certain things that we have cultivated and focused on, and it's forcing us to be more comfortable with that, and also see if whatever we have been planting is benefiting us at this point. And if it's not, don't rush. Especially full moons, it's important to just be comfortable with whatever you are experiencing. And if you are not comfortable, or if you are not, you don't see in the appearances in the world whatever you want to see for yourself and what you want to experience, just take note and relax at this point. Celebrate the small little things that you have right now, the small little boundaries, because Aquarius is a lot about boundaries and having your own mind. Be grateful for the things that you see as uniquely yours, and feel comfortable with that. And during the cycle of full moon to new moon, shed a lot of the lights and a lot of the feelings that do not benefit you, or that you see are not benefiting you at this moment, and let go and start imagining and thinking about things that really are important to you and that you really want to see as a part of your experience.
True. Everything that Mr. said is right about the full moon. Also, just remember that even if you're watching after the full moon happened, we accumulated energy on the full moon. We accumulated thoughts and feelings, associations, especially because the moon is in Aquarius. And we are basically going through that accumulation, as Dari said, shedding until the new moon, but we are still going through it, right? And what specifically are we most likely to go through in this shedding period is situations, ideas, imaginations, or going back to the past, because a lot of alignments are indeed in retrograde position, but it's all about associations, right? Having your own mind amongst your associations, having your own ideas when you think about yourself in the world, right? Because Capricorn and Aquarius are both ruled by Saturn, right? Saturn represents the whole world. More than the physical world, right? Represents all of us as spirits together creating something, aka structure, networking, association, and then, like Daria said, limits and boundaries, right? But more on the Aquarius side, where the full moon was. It's more about the external aspects of those things that I just said. So not only are you most likely to be feeling, worrying, and perhaps overreacting about or in your associations, it's about also you claiming something or setting a point. Daria spoke about the limits and boundaries, and with the moon in Aquarius, is about you feeling comfortable in expressing and actively maintaining those limits and boundaries, right? But with the full moon in every sign, there can be a bit of an overreaction or overstatement. So make sure to balance the full moon energy with the sun and the Mercury in Leo. What do I mean by that? So you are active, you are strong, cold, logical, and unique with your limits and boundaries. How you think about them, how you think others should respect you, or your ideas, or your associations, or what you have been building until the moment. But then how you act about it and how you communicating should be in a bit of a more light, enjoyable, creative, and exciting way, or just toning down a little bit of that Aquarius impact, because Aquarius can kill with words alone, right? People that spend a lot of time in the fixed air state, they get so fixed in their idea that when it comes out, it can be like a slap.
Yeah, or it can be even sometimes just too unique for its own, like the environment, it may look as too unique.
True, and then sometimes, especially people that have Aquarius alignments, they can be too harsh, but in their mentality they are not.
Yeah.
They're not like,
That's not the intention.
Yeah, they're not thinking like, let me be harsh on this person. They deserve it. Sometimes they do that, but it's in very specific situations. Generally, when Aquarius came out as aggressive or harsh, it's just they spend so much time focusing and thinking about something that when it comes out, just comes with that accumulation and that weight, that impact, right? Or, like Daria said, it can just be too complex or too unique, because in the Aquarius mind, or in a highly intellectual person mind, because that can work with Virgos, for an example, Pisces to a certain extent as well, they connected all the dots in their mind, but others didn't. And sometimes, especially people that have a lot of Aquarius alignments, they lack that perspective of when they are communicating or thinking about communicating something, they just focus so much in their ability to connect the dots that they don't see how others connect the dots. Because it's not about Aquarius thinking, oh, I'm the only one connecting the dots. No, it's not like that. It's like they did their own way, and because they are so fixed in their own way, they think others will be like that as well. But usually people are more scattered, or they create a lot of points instead of bringing them all together, right? That's what we call having clarity of mind, not being into cognitive dissonance.
Focus.
Focus, either in thinking and communicating. It's all about connecting those dots.
Yeah.
So with the full moon in Aquarius, even if you don't have Aquarius alignments, you can go very hard into that, into focusing a lot on your mind, in how you connect the dots and how you come across. And then you should have a more careful, because Leo comes right after the Cancer, so a bit more careful, and try to be more entertaining, try to consider others, try to bring others to the stage to play the role with you. Don't be the central character, because no show works with only the main character, right? So make sure to, even though you don't lower yourself, make others feel like they are a little bit of the main character, or they can share the energy, so you can fulfill your associations, keyword in the full moon in Aquarius.
For real.
So in regards of the full moon, always remember to never overreact, So with full moon in Aquarius, in a more simple term, don't talk too much, right? Go straight to the point. Try to be a bit more entertaining. Don't dry out the topic or the circumstance, because everybody already in that Aquarius energy, fulfilled especially. So if you are playing those same energies, if you acting those same roles, people and you and spirits in general will get quicker frustrated with you or with themselves, because everybody's already on that energy, right? But also, that doesn't mean you should run away from that energy, right? Full moon scenarios can be like scary or other people's experience and testimonies can make you feel a bit like traumatized, like, especially a lot of astrologers talk about the full moon like either it's a dangerous situation or it's like a bit la la landish and we can manifest everything. No, that's why we have a full moon in specific signs and in your specific houses, but that's off the point. Let's get focused here, right? But yeah, the full moon can be like too much sometimes, but you still have to play that role. You still have to react and respond to that energy, right? But you also have to understand that you and others are already in that state. So a little bit can be too much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you or others react negatively, you gotta be strong in your mind and think, that's what I have to go through. I have to play these roles. I have to go through these overreactions.
Yeah.
Or to the lack of it. Because many people only talk about the manifestations of the full moon. But like Dani said a bit earlier, the full moon will also reveal to you the results of the seeds that you planted.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that all the seeds gave fruit.
Yeah.
If some seeds didn't give fruit, you're going to feel the lack of associations with the full moon in Aquarius.
It ends up being like weeds, and in your garden you thought you were planting something, but because of the scatteredness that eventually comes through in many of us, and in various circumstances, we aren't always focused on the goal, on the purpose. We aren't always reminding ourselves, and it's a journey that we all go through individually, to be able to constantly more and more so each day focus on the goal, on our purposes. And the goal is not like a thing predetermined. It's a path that we are constantly creating, and we are seeing what we do not want in order to see what we are moving towards, and if I like this, if I like to do this and that. And sometimes if we are not careful with the seeds that we are planting, we might be just planting random seeds thinking, oh, maybe this will work, maybe that will work. And in the full moons, majority of times it's when a lot of those fruits that we're supposed to reap appeared to be good trees, but they aren't giving fruits, or they are just weeds thrown around. And also, I was just thinking that in weeds and even things that do not grow fruit, they still attract like bees and flies, so pollinators or insects and rats. So it's during the full moon that you will see, okay, if I don't have I have fruits here, these are the things that I have cultivated, and see if this is something that you desire to experience. You see, okay, these fruits I enjoy, and there are some places where you don't have fruits, and you see that you might feel unfulfilled even during a full moon, because you see that there are things that you don't even consider as worthy of occupying your mental space, but they are, because during the full moon, obviously, it's all revealed and the internal space comes out. And so it's very important to be able to reflect on the things that we have observed and are observing during the full moons. And every time we are like, every day has a little bit of a full moon type of microcosm where you reflect on everything that you have done throughout the day, where you reflect and see the fruits of your labor through your actions and through your reactions, and you are able to reflect if you are aware and change in accordance to what you have observed.
True. And like I was saying, and like Dari said, you can realize, you can reflect and see that you grown a lot of weeds or just nothing. Sometimes nothing grows in a plot of land, right, in the real world. And you shouldn't overreact to like the lack of something. And perhaps the overreaction from you and others, because we also have to remember full moon in Aquarius is full moon in air. So it's a lot about overreacting to external stimulus, external conversations, what others think is right, what we think society thinks it's right. So you might be overreacting to something that you are building up.
Yeah.
Because Aquarius and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so it's about building up.
Truly.
And like Daria said, I want to really focus on that. It's the goal is the path, basically. The path that you make for yourself, because Aquarius is all about uniqueness and individuality, right? Not only it has the fixed air element, it also has Uranus that brings unpredictability, your own path, and not only that in itself, but the preference, right? So people that have Aquarius alignments or they were raised in Aquarius-like environments, they might see two paths. Imagine this. One path leads to easy money and comfortability. The other path leads to the same amount or more money, but a bit more unstable, a bit more ups and downs, but it's your own path, right? Aquarius people and Aquarius circumstances will choose that path. So with Moon in Aquarius, you might compare to yourself too much with the external world, or the external world is just throwing comparisons at you, and you might overreact and think you didn't receive any fruits from your work, you didn't take care of your garden and all that like that. But that in itself might be an overreaction. You might be on the goal, you might be building your own shop, building your own mall, building your own, esoterically speaking, so you can sell your ideas, you can share your uniqueness and individuality, but you might think you are not doing it, or you might feel it's not enough, right? And that might be true, right? So the focus here is for you to reflect appropriately and be on the lookout for the signs of the overreactions, right? And if you come to the conclusion that you didn't do well, don't try to chase. I always say this in my videos, lives, and readings when it's about full moon energies. Don't ever chase the lack of something, because now it's not the time for that.
Yeah.
Now it's the time to understand why it didn't grow. Could you have done more? Could you have given more water to your seeds, or you gave too much water? Because full moon and Aquarius cycle, it's actually more of a dry cycle.
Or even, is there something else occupying the space
True.
that you want to grow something on? So sometimes we might not even know, but there are subconscious beliefs that we are attaching our emotions to when it comes to a belief, oh, I can't build a shop, but you want to build a shop and you are surprised that you don't have a shop, or you haven't took those steps, but in the back of your mind there is something that could be contradicting that goal that you have in mind. So it's on the full moons, it's perfect to see that and to realize, okay, there is something that I haven't realized about myself, or that I didn't took time enough to see through, and to actually take the time to implement better practices and slowly dissolve the beliefs of not being good enough, or not being worthy of doing something that you desire to do and accomplish, because it truly is soul fulfilling, it's meaningful. And we are talking about meaningful things. It's not, vapid desires that somebody told you and you think you want. It's something that you truly, deep in your soul, start to realize and start to uncover, based a lot on what you do not want to experience, and you go to that which you want to experience. So many times the beliefs or the fears of not wanting to go to that which you don't want, and dissolving that in order to create something better. And just coming back to the point of not thinking that you have done enough, or if you feel like your seeds didn't grow at all in certain places, aside from something might be occupying that space, it could be that it's a good this is like a good way to, when you realize that you are empty in certain areas, or if you haven't did certain things on places that you wish to create a routine around, it's good to acknowledge that it's just space, right? It's better than if something is there, right? It's better for it to be free, for you to bring new ideas during the new moon cycle. So right now we are coming out of the full moon and slowly progressing and making the cup with less and less fluids, so then we can bring new fluids and new intentions and actions into our cup, and actually bring something into that land that you didn't grow anything, and right now you are sowing and creating new and bring new seeds and intentions and motivations and actions into.
Yeah, but that's going to be later on in the new moon in Virgo, right?
Yeah.
And just to finish the topic of the full moon in Aquarius, always remember to protect your manifestations and materializations that are indeed positive. Don't talk too much about them, like too freely, only with people that are a part of your team or a part of your soul group or a part of like your co-working space, because full moon in Aquarius can bring a lot of new ideas on corporate situations or contractual situations or making video games, building social apps, building a brand, you know. So make sure to communicate your unique ideas, if you did manifest them, in a fixed, consistent, logical, unique way that makes sense. Don't share that with the whole world unless that's your job, unless, I don't know, you work at a journalism station, you have your YouTube channel, you are live on Twitch, whatever, right? And make sure to not go overboard, right? Remember that we're always building up, we're always working towards a better version of ourselves and a better version of our circumstances. So if you did get, I mean, positive fruits, make sure to use them.
Yeah.
Don't let them rot, because then attract way more bugs than bad seeds. But make sure to also not throw them away and just exhaust that
like
space.
Throwing pearls to the swine, in a sense, because during the full moon it's always going to be kind of obvious
A little
to
bit,
everybody. If you go out in the world, if you express yourself on the internet and you actually talk with people and see how others react, you kind of, but even more so in the real world, when you are talking to real people, you kind of will see that everybody's trying to bring their own thing, because it's full moon. Everybody's like exuberant of energy. Everybody's trying to spill it out.
Or on the other extreme, people might be extremely lacking, and they try
vampires.
they try to make you overreact so they can, through you or by seeing you
themselves,
exactly,
feel like they have something without actually really working for it. They're just sucking energy by making you react on certain things. So it's important to not overreact, as I said. Do not overshare, give to others the things that you cherish the most right now, and work again, if you are, your job is to do that, you do that, but in a way that is not overgiving to everybody. And most importantly, it is for you to feel fulfilled and enjoying your current circumstance and things like that.
Infinitely. So we conclude our first topic of today. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about the full moon in Aquarius, what were your experiences, your own conclusions about these circumstances. Share with us your testimony. And let's move on to the second topic, right? Second topic is a branching off of the full moon in Aquarius, not on the full moon itself, but on the energy, the character of Aquarius, right? Like I said earlier, while we were discussing the first topic, Aquarius and Capricorn have to deal with Saturn, right? And Saturn deals with reality, structure, support, networking, associations, limits and boundaries. And of course, going through this full moon in Aquarius, not only I was myself driving out these conclusions, but I also saw some like pieces of content that let me build up this conclusion in a better sufficient space, which is basically about government, right? And I know there is like a lot of conspiracy theories and kind of movements online going against the government, but that's not the point of the topic that we're going to discuss here. The point we're going to discuss is more of like an awareness point, because it's all about using this topic that we are about to say. It's about using it, right? And in this world, and basically in every world that you are going to exist and create shapes and forms, you gotta know how to be used and to use, right? Balance, give and receive, yin and yang, feminine, spirit and physical, you know. So government dependence, or being too reliant on the government, is wrong in two levels. Physical level, right? Just straight simple, and then into a morality level. Because in the first place, we have to think about governments came to be out of our quote-unquote humans, spirits in bodies, own volition. We created government. It's not something that exists in the animalistic realm. They have a more physical, imposed hierarchies, right? But we created this version of our hierarchy, the government, right? And we have to understand where it came from, right? So the government came from a perspective or a need or a want to support a community and make sure that nobody scams nobody, make sure that, I don't know, you're very gifted in a certain skill and everybody needs that skill, and in order to protect you, the creator, from being extorted or from being underpriced, also to protect the community from you being the only one that knows how to make that specific valuable skill, to overprice or give them lower quality products or services in order for a higher price. For an example, right? Not exclusively to this, but these two examples or these two principalities behind the creation of the government should give you a nice enough frame to understand the situation, right? So what happened is that now, not everywhere, of course, but in some situations, we see even whole towns, whole cities, too reliant, and even a whole country, too reliant on the government. And like I said, the government is not wrong, but the government became to work as a crutch, as like a quote-unquote
Big
boss
daddy.
mafia. Yeah, big daddy,
It is
sugar
a
daddy.
It is a mafia type system.
Yeah. Not enforced like the mafia would do, but it's more mentally. It's more actually emotionally, because they, quote unquote, protect you. They give you benefits and they give you safety and support when you get sick, when you are unemployed. They give you money, and that's really good. Like, we're not saying the government is bad here, because we also have to recognize that a lot of people are supported by the government, and without even the government giving them money, some people wouldn't be alive right now because they can't work, whatever. I'm drifting off the point, but the goal is to understand when that goes too far. But, and you guys be like, but how is support and giving money and giving jobs can be too far, right? Because if the government offers the majority of jobs and support in a location, they then hold the power to also remove them. So if you go against them, consciously or subconsciously, or if there is an error in the system, right? Either a person changed their mind, or the system is not working very well, the support will also be lost or limited. So what should happen is a balance where people themselves also build networks of support, either in money or daycares for the kids, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So the government then, they do their part because people pay taxes, and the government regulates and protects the people and the companies, and they are not too much supporting everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because I came to this conclusion when there is, like, I live in Portugal right now, and there is an island which is quote unquote run by their local government, because most of the jobs and positions are from the government or to work in public services. So actually what is happening there, allegedly, because I don't live there, right? If you go against the government, you lose the ability to have a bonus, a raise,
Like you speak in the
Yeah.
social media or whatever.
yeah, wrongly or in a way that they think it's wrong, right? You might lose that support. You don't, like, some people lost their jobs, but it wasn't the majority. Majority of people were like, oh, I can't get my promotion now, or they give me a harder job, or they limited the days that I can work because of this and of that. And that is only happening because most of the job places and most of the infrastructure is run by the government and the government only.
Yeah, it feels like you are like the whole place is like run by a company, because
Yeah,
you
true.
see
In a
companies
way.
that if you work there and they know your social media and whatever, and you talk wrongly about the company that you work in, there is going to be problems, or you do something crazy and there is going to be problems. And I feel like what's happening in Madeira, supposedly,
Allegedly.
I'm not, I don't live there either, but it seems that it has too much of a concentration of dependence on one entity, which in this case is the government. And we can see that with such dependency on the government, there is no other means, or there is less
And even
means,
value. There is
Yeah.
less value as well.
because less people
Yeah.
live there. So I would imagine like 20% or like 15% of people are working on like cattle, maybe like
Yeah.
farms.
They have like very good fruits and special weather.
Yeah.
So they can grow special
Yeah.
types of fruits there. Because it's
Yeah.
actually closer to Africa than to Portugal.
So yeah, that's situation in Madeira is a little bit tricky there.
Yeah.
You know.
But not only Madeira, which is a part of Portugal, but Portugal in itself, not so much right now, but especially like 20 years ago, it was a country that depended too much on the government. How so? Most, like it just happens in Madeira right now, a lot of people were working in the city hall, in like documentations facilities from the government, na Junta de Freguesia, which is a smaller representation, a smaller scale version of the town hall, of the city hall, right? And a lot of people were working for the state indeed. So not only that brings a lot of dependence, like the state can say when you go to vacations, when you receive, how much you receive, and you can do nothing about it. Also, it was decreasing the value of Portugal's economy because most people were not producing value. They were regulating value. They were organizing the documents. They were working in the courthouses. They were working in building administration of the city hall, where they actually like don't play a big role in producing value. So Portugal's economy suffered from that and still suffers a little bit, but Portugal was able to diversify their economy and change it up a little bit. But that's exactly the point. If the government, they don't own factories, like they don't, especially, I don't know in other countries, but in Portugal they don't have factories, they don't produce value. You know what I'm saying? So if most people work for a association that doesn't produce value, right, where is the patronage, where the taxes are coming from? Because the people pay taxes for to run the government, but if most of the people work for the government, where you see there is like no growth, because all the money comes in and out of the government or government associations. So like I was saying before, where people, and that happens in some countries and in some communities already, it's not going against the government. No, it's not even working with them. That's okay, you can do it, but that's not the goal. The goal is you build your own system, supporting system, organization system, right? In your capacity, in what
Food
you can
supply,
do. Food supply, whatever you and your community can do. And then the government is there as well, right? The government can support you anyway. You can support the government. I don't imagine a branch of the government in your area is not working sufficiently, but you and your community develop the skill, and now you support them, and even you can lend a paycheck working for them. And then they don't have so much power in your community because you are in there. Perhaps you are the one making those decisions that once were being made by a random person miles away in their office,
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think being dependent on the government is a very tricky situation. We can see that in many places in the world, like China, North Korea, even Russia.
But that's not so much dependent; it's more hostage.
Yes,
right?
Because in a sense, like for instance, China, it is the government is the main entity. The government is the one that owns the major companies, because the people, the CEOs of the companies, have to be part of the government, the CCP. So it's like a company in itself, which Madeira seems to be, in a sense, a smaller version.
Yeah, because it's not factories. It's like
it's managing the government itself.
It's how they call it, like human resources type of stuff, like soft skills.
Soft skills.
Instead of producing a can of tuna,
I don't know. Production, it's management.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
seems...
now that you're talking about this topic, like if you receive support from the government, make sure to use it to your own business, or like not like a job or something, but like to your own creativity, to, I don't know, buy lights for your YouTube channel so your camera looks better, if you like grow a garden in your backyard, make sure to use some of that government money to grow some value. Use it for your own good as well. Don't just waste it on like just buying a bunch of shoes or clothing or just paying the bills, because some government supports, like if you then invest, you lose a part of the support, or if you make some type of income, you lose a part of the support. But you can be flexible with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's like,
It also depends on what type of support you're receiving and what from government.
yeah, when you get, for instance, support from the government, like a holiday check, or I don't know, like a stimulus that was
Yeah,
happening
true.
in America and things like that.
True.
That sometimes happens, like the government here gives 100 euros to like people or something. There was like this program a few years
Yeah, I
ago.
remember.
But yeah, it's important too when you think about it. If you receive that check or something, right? Even a check, the check that you got from your work, you know, you get the check and reinvest into the value that you have presently, so that you can bring
Yeah, that's
more.
really important.
Because if you, for instance, buy some shoes or something, for instance, that is not from your local area, that money is going there to that place. It's not coming back to, for instance, the local creators, the local value bringers, and people that are actually creating something right here, right now, in order to create a community that is more dependent on each other rather than external export or external things like that.
Well,
But
I think we can actually create a third topic out of that situation, because I think we can go a bit deeper into that, because I think like these two topics are basically esoteric neighbors. They are different, but they share a lot of desires, and they share a lot of casualty, or not casualties, but what leads to that event happening, right? Which is a bigger entity, right? All together running not ruining, running a circumstance, right? Because you're talking about if you receive support from the government or even your paycheck from your job, you should support the local economy and yourself. Yourself, it's obvious, you know, if you're a musician, buy a guitar, stuff like that. But supporting your community, like Dario was saying, it's very important. And that brought to me to the third topic, which is economy, local economy versus worldwide economy, right? And that immediately reminds me of malls or shopping centers, right? Because it happened a lot in Portugal, it happened a lot in Spain, for an example, because Portugal and Spain were countries where there was a lot of local, and I think everywhere else, there was a lot of local businesses, and the economy was that local business. There was like no other choice, right? Sometimes if you wanted different clothing, you go to bigger cities, but you didn't go to the mall. There was no malls. There was
or
no,
to the internet.
or to the
shop.
internet. Yeah, there was nothing that, right? It was just you go to the store that maybe your neighbor owns, or the daughter of your neighbor owns that store, and everybody knows each other, and basically the community invests in itself. Like, you know, the community is always backing each other up.
Yeah.
Right? And then what happened with these malls and shopping centers and big corporations coming in is that the community is now giving money to somewhere else. And that's exactly what Daria said. The money is going somewhere else. And this can sound a bit too vague, but it's literally just like that. The money that you earned is not going to the store that is owned by the daughter of your neighbor that can even help you out someday. For an example, no, the store is going to this big brand that have stores everywhere else,
Like-
and it doesn't come back to your community.
Yeah, and I see there is a shift going on, and it has been for a few years, where people are going to secondhand stores to buy clothing instead of fast fashion, because fast fashion is exactly what you're talking about. There is a whole line of work through major cities of the world, and that money that you are spending on fast fashion or clothing from stores, like very cheap clothing or like brand, very luxurious brands or something like that, you are giving that money to other places instead of bringing to your thrift store or whatever, you know.
But now that you talked about the luxurious places, and I thought that most times the most luxurious places are local places.
Yeah, true. Because when I go to a thrift store, you can only find one piece, and that piece might probably not even be
Yeah.
in production anymore. It's
True.
like a unique piece that,
Or a unique piece of fabric.
yeah, you only found there, and it's a treasure in itself. And I think it's even more special than buying a, you know, a bag that just came out. Even buying a vintage bag is
Yeah.
more luxurious.
And I also thought about like restaurants. Usually there is no franchise restaurant owned by a big company that is like super luxurious. It's usually that one place that it's either open for like 100 years or 80 years,
Yeah.
or this very unique
Yeah.
chef
Yeah.
open this restaurant, and that's the
Yeah.
really luxurious places.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not in the shopping mall, it's not in the franchise.
'Cause I've-
It's in that locale.
Because I really noticed that, like, those franchise stores, and not talking about Big Mac because everybody
Yeah,
has
yes,
the
exactly.
same exact frozen meat, but in restaurants where it's fresh food being cooked. Various places have their own owner. Obviously, it is a franchise, but its
Oh, I
owner
see. Yeah,
is
they can
different.
change some things.
And even the food is different
Yeah.
from this place and that place, and
Yeah, they have
the
some items
experience
that
of a
everybody
chef
else-
is very different than this experience from this chef, and the way that they will cook will also be different. So the flavors will change as well.
Yeah, I was just saying that what you was talking about, like franchises, that they have certain items that must be in every restaurant, but then the owners have freedom to put in their own menus to a certain
Yeah.
limit. So
Yeah.
they still sell the franchise, but they also allow for some more local
Yeah.
presence,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I see.
And that also that's the physical perspective. Of course, we are here in spiritual, so we have to go to the spiritual perspective, which is you might even pay more on the local businesses, right? Because it's a bit more expensive. They don't have the facilities and the production
make it
capacity
cheaper,
to make
yeah.
it cheaper. So you might be paying more, but the spirituality behind this actually indicates that's positive. Of course, you should do that in moderation. Of course, you can still go to the malls. We're not saying for you to not go to the malls. Certain things are only in the malls, or perhaps the deal is so good you can't miss out on it. But if you can, in a balanced way, in a responsible way, spend a bit more on your local businesses, because spiritually speaking, where you invest, where you give your value physically, will help your spirit move to better places. When you treat yourself good,
Yeah.
when you see a luxurious place, or when you see a local business, that you see some care in it, it has been open for, I don't know, so many years. The same owner is in that clothes store for 40 years. You know that's value, because he gave a lot of value to that
Truly.
place.
And it's worth it.
Yeah,
That
so
is the key.
by you
word.
giving your money, that you got your sweat, you got all sweaty and all sore, either physically or mentally, getting that money, and then you invest it there, you're helping that essence, that uniqueness, and that value grow for you and for
Yeah,
others.
you're getting that value because, for instance, like buying a PC component, right?
True.
There is like local stores here where you can go and buy a PC little thingy, and although it might be a few cents or a euro
More expensive.
more expensive, it's worth it because the people that are working there are so passionate about what they're doing.
True.
And you are getting the value from getting that piece of hardware or whatever it is, and knowing that you are bringing it and creating connections with people that you see are passionate about what they do and that you get value from. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Situation, yeah. And I think now, and I think that's actually in the topic of full moon in Aquarius, because Aquarius is all about worldwide stuff, associations, the 11th house, social media, the internet. But Aquarius is all about uniqueness and individuality. It's about you seeing yourself in a very clear way in the world, you being active in the world, you being valuable. Then the square to Taurus, in the world. The opposition to Leo, being entertaining and setting up the stage for the world. And then the square with Scorpio, you being able to see and act in deep, meaningful ways in the world. right? So you supporting your community and being a part of a community, right, to a certain extent, is in this topic of the full moon in Aquarius, right? And that's perhaps why me and Daria came to this conclusion on the podcast, right? Because now there is a lot of worldwide stuff, merchandise, you know, even ideology and politics that spread over the world really, really quickly. And like I said before earlier in this episode of the podcast, you might feel too impacted or too belittled or too enclosed, too hostage to a certain level into these networks and associations from all over the world in different aspects, physically, like I said, merchandise or ideologically, or that has to deal with ideologies. And it's very important that individuals now take these roles as well in their own communities, in their own worlds, not just on the internet, but also not just supporting these big brands, but also, right, but really bring more value and more presence to the community. Because if you are a part of the community and you support the community, you are supporting yourself, because it will come back to you. And also, I've been saying for some time now on my videos and lives that we are now in the age of Aquarius. Pluto is 0 degrees Aquarius retrograde. It will back direct soon into Aquarius. And so what will happen is the infrastructure and the industries will change to a way where there will be more celebrities, there will be more famous people and more rich people, but they will be less famous than right now. They will be less rich to a certain extent, quote unquote, because richness is not just money. And there will be more organizations and more corporations with less power and less like octopus tentacles
global
dominate.
Power meaning,
And that will happen with personal communities, local communities growing up. Right? And that's extremely important, because then you can get your hands into some legislations. You can build the road immediately when it's has a pothole. Some people in your town lost their house, but you and your community bought some houses to flip in the market or to rent, and now you can make them live there for free because you know them. I don't know, they went to your house in Thanksgiving, I don't know, or went to Joe's house and you know Joe, and you know they, like, I don't know, a gas exploded or they got robbed or they have some squatters in there, I don't know, something happens and you can support them directly.
Yeah. And this does not cancel at all the connection that we all have through the internet and global information and infinite information that is out there, and infinite possibilities of new information coming out and being shared through all the communities and various places, and be able to adapt and create something in your own way, in your own community, by having this much access to various sources of information, books, people and communications, where you can bring even communities together to create something new in that space and create a special connection between communities. And that's how we really build a healthy way to connect with each other, having boundaries, but without it being without animosity or without
it being a limit. Without it being a limit,
because
and instead being a support, being a guideline.
Differences we all have as spirits, and
that's the goal here, to show those experiences, those differences, and build with it.
Without resorting to some animosity and going and getting your desire fulfilled in ways that would hurt other people, and that would put yourself above others by bringing them or by putting curses on them, esoterically speaking.
True.
And actually creating a good environment within, and be able to connect with others in that way, so others can also reveal their own spirit, their own power, their own interests.
And even if you don't connect with others, let's see a group of people are building something
Yeah.
that you don't really agree with, or you're just not interested in,
Yeah.
like you don't go against them. You see them as an example. Oh, look, they're building something for their own, and they're getting supported by the community, and they're supporting the community. Let me do the same, or let
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
like,
Or you're just like on the sidelines in your own world.
Yeah.
You are not. Uh,
associated with too many people. You
Yeah.
know, you don't need to be
and
exactly
not,
infinitely
and not creating like chaos about that shit.
true, and actually, like I said, just see that as an example and be open to all possibilities. Like I can do that, but on my own way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And like be closer to those associations. Don't need to be a part of it, but just know what they're doing, how they're doing, what the goals they are achieving, how they organize their situation, and you can learn from that as well. You know what I'm saying? Always be you and try to be bigger, as in awareness, connections, wisdom, knowledge, and actually the ability to do something. Because there is no stronger ritual and spell than getting off your ass and doing something. You know what I'm saying?
And having faith
Yeah.
in yourself, your motivations, your vision, and
Your
really,
purpose.
yeah, and really be, focused and see the situations that we all go through each and every moment, and be able to, especially in the moments of most disturbance and like things seemingly happening, and be able to observe yourself in that moment and see that how could that possibly be in my benefit.
Yeah.
Because you will see, if you open to it, a way to create something good from it. It's like picking up mud, picking up clay. It's just clay, but you can actually create some dope shit out of it. It's like a rock.
Yeah.
You just look at the rock, but then you can create something crazy that will last for thousands of years.
Indeed. It's all about using the environment instead of being used by it.
Truly.
You know? And sometimes you just be used by it, but in a positive way. It's like, that's what people call God working through you. It's when you build a very good understanding and the vibration, you are in the same vibe as the environment, and the environment is in the same frequency and vibration as your goals. So you just go with the vibe, but you chose to. You're not being thrown away by the current. You're going with the current because you know it will take you to your goals.
You have faith. You have faith.
And then the universe works for you in those cases.
Yeah.
But actually, in most cases, you have to make the universe work for you. How? By being fixed in your own way of thinking, communicating, analyzing, feeling, imagining, dreaming, and being consistent in actually doing those things in your own way and in your own purpose. And we finished today Spiritual Podcast. Thank you very much for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. We wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. Always remember to believe in yourself, to believe in all possibilities. Remember, the best way to be is to be your goddamn self. Daddy, thank you for joining me. Great work today again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I'm very happy to record this podcast. We usually talk about the stuff, and we just creating this podcast is good to bring that and actually record this, talking about this, because it's interesting. It's something that people also want to talk about, or some people just want to have someone to talk about this
These
stuff,
things,
because
true.
it's just putting your thoughts out there, and because what we speak is truly from the heart, it's from the soul. So no matter what the physicists, fucking scientists will say, oh, this is not the right way to say this geometrically, I don't know. It's not
important.
That's not important. We are speaking from the heart, and we are constantly constantly changing, and we are expressing what we are experiencing at this moment. And in a few days we are going to be more evolved. In a few years we are going to be even more evolved, and we're going to be talking about more expanded stuff. But right now,
and in a few years, science will be saying you guys were right all along.
Because,
but in their own subtle ways.
Because what they're really doing in science is they're playing how can I explain this? How can I explain that?
And if there is no running from it. Eventually, they will reach the conclusion
Yeah.
that we already reached.
I'm sure.
But they will be able to explain it in a more scientific way.
Yeah.
But we can do that too.
Yeah.
Don't think we can't. We can
Yeah.
do that too.
Because you can explain all you want, but the world is constantly evolving. We
Yeah,
as spirits are always creating something new, observing in ways that are super
Yeah.
new. We've seen so many centuries, I would say 100, 200, 300 years ago, how science has evolved, how people would think at that time that thought this is how the
True.
world really works.
True.
How many times science has changed perspectives and abilities to explain the world, which is a good thing in itself, but we can see that holistically and through the spirit, through the mind, create that union that will actually benefit us in the long run, and not just, oh, look at me, I'm better, this is how the world really works, and this is how we should all behave right now. No, it's always evolving, and we can see that from various perspectives.
Yeah, indeed. So once again, thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon. See ya.
Bye bye.